Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the smile, and I'm going to concentrate on that given the shortness of time. But I want you to understand that even though I'm going to talk to you with you about the smile, that any particular behavior, word usage, eye gaze, fear face, any of them could be discussed in the same kind of way and with the same kind of nuance. And what I'm finding is with the expert lie detectors, it's not that people pay different attention to different behaviors, I mean they do in some way, but the experts are more nuanced in what they see. They don't just see a smile, they see a particular kind of smile. They don't just see eye gaze, they see when the eye gaze occurs, what it is in conjunction with in terms of what the interviewer asks them and in terms of what they are saying. So we talked earlier about emotion in the Darwinian view there's a few basic prototypic emotions. They're not all feelings are prototype or basic. These are some of them, and one of them is happiness. This is a picture of an Nguini tribesman that Paul Ekman took back in the 1960s, and this was a member of a tribe who had no outside contact with the world until 10 years earlier. He was asked to say, well, how would you look if a friend came to visit? And that's the face that he put on. Now notice his smile. Notice that the corners of the mouth are going up, okay? And notice how his cheeks go up, and that causes a certain wrinkling underneath the eyes, all right? What that is what's called a Duchenne true enjoyment smile. Duchenne was an electrophysiologist in the 1800s who found a patient who had no feeling in his face, and so he connected electrodes, electrical leads, to all the muscles of his face, and then he photographed what changes happened when he innervated those muscles. And he noticed that this man, if he just, did this, he didn't look happy, but when the man was told a joke and really enjoyed something, the muscle around his eye fired. That's called orbicularis oculi. Now I can control my face a lot, but I can't control the muscle around my eye. And most people cannot. So in our country, you see how I've got this zygomatic major thing going? Okay? We all can do that. But it's phony because my eyes are not involved. Right? Right? So, you look here, Tiger Woods, one of my heroes, because he works hard. He doesn't rest on his laurels, okay? And you see corners of the mouth up, zygomatic major, but there's also the involvement of orbicularis oculi, the cheeks raising, and the pooching under the eyes. This is a social smile. You can see on the left is more or less the same amount of excursion of zygomatic major, but in the one case, no firing of orbicularis oculi, and in the other there is. So the cheeks are raised and you get pooching under the eyes. Okay? One is truly felt, the other is a fake social smile. Now, we have the deferential smile. This is often, if you look at the Mona Lisa, her smile is feigned. I think it's not just the smile, it's the sideways glance that she gives. And if you look at Paris Hilton, you will see that sometimes she shows a very similar smile, but her eyes are very different, so it is a very different effect. We've already talked about smirks. So smirks are really contempt expressions or pride expressions. And now I want to show you, we're going to leave time for questions, so now I want to show you a miserable smile, which is a smile that's going to be a mask for other emotions. Okay? Now this is a picture of Prince Charles. Now Prince Charles is first of all British, so he's supposed to have good emotional control, right? He's been on the public stage his whole life. So if anybody could control themselves, he should be able to do it. And yet, 2 weeks before he married Camilla Parker Bowles, he was out skiing with his sons, and the paparazzi were all over them, and he was in a rage, And he said to his son, "What can I do? What shall I do?" And the prince said, "Smile, just smile." And this is what So even somebody who is a public performer, if gripped by a sufficiently strong emotion, is going to have a very difficult time controlling that emotion. And it is that inability to totally control how you feel, or how you think, or how you express your thoughts that the highly trained and expert person can pick up and use as one of the elements in the decision and the evaluation that one goes through in trying to understand another person and in trying to figure out whether or not this is indeed the person is lying or telling the truth. Now, I called this talk Mind Reading the Mind Readers, and I really had to laugh because when I went to graduate school, it was the beginning of behaviorism in American psychology, and you would never talk about mind reading. You know, that was like, you know, reading tea leaves or something like that. So mind reading was just an awful thing to say. And then developmental psychologists started to talk about a theory of mind, which was about how children understand what other people are thinking. And that kind of rehabilitated the term. And now we see, I found a number of books lately, where mind reading is now respectable once again. So in the course of my career, I see this arc in terms of the use of that word. And so that's why I wanted to use it tonight. So thank you. All right. Questions or comments, and so I'm happy to see what your interest is. Otherwise, I'll just talk unfettered, so you better ask me questions. Yes?
What are you currently researching?
Well, I'm still working on the truth wizards. I'm finishing the analyses because if you can imagine, that's over 200 interviews. They're all typescript and coded, and so that's very, very difficult. A number of my students are here who are working on ancillary projects around that, so that's principally what I'm working on right now. So a lot of work, a lot of work. Is there another question of you?
Yeah, among the truth wizards that you contacted with, like, did any of them ever express that they once lied a lot themselves?
The question is, do the truth wizards lie a lot themselves? Actually, they're extremely honest people. And in fact, in a study I did here at USF, I found that USF students, we gave them a thing, and these items were buried in a bunch of other risk-taking items, like how many sexual partners did you have and how often you go bungee jumping, whether they admitted lying to their friends or lying to their parents. Well, it turns out most students will admit lying to their parents, but most of them did not say they would lie to their friends. And so if they said they lied to their friends more frequently than average, those people were actually less accurate in lie detection, and they were also less able to learn the lie detection improvement course that they were taught. Now, I do think that many of the wizards, they work in law enforcement, many of them are undercover, and I think they are quite good role players, and they are quite good interviewers. And when you are a good interviewer, you have to establish rapport with the other person. One of the ways you might do that is through mirroring them, adjusting the cadence of your voice, adjusting your posture, changing your speech pattern to mimic theirs, but not in a phony, artificial way. And so I do think they are good role players, but I think as people, they try to live their life in a very principled way. So I have identified 51 now, maybe 3, not so much, you know, maybe there's a few little fraud cases in there, but the rest of them are extraordinarily principled people. So they value honesty. The one thing they have in common is that's what they seek to find. And so it's high value for them.